Every day when I showed up in that locker room, I was one of the first ones there. I was one of the last ones to leave. I was a young guy that was trying to prove myself. I really tried to just display my work ethic. It's not about what we say, it's about what we do.
Welcome to Athlete Country Club, the podcast built for parents, athletes, and competitors chasing the next level. I'm your host, Marcus McMarion, former Division I quarterback, now founder of Athlete Country Club. I started this show because, like many of you, I had to learn the recruiting process the hard way, traveling up and down the state, spending thousands trying to figure out what actually works. Each week, we break it down through two powerful segments. First, Coach Talk. This is where we sit down with college coaches, director of player personnel, recruiters to uncover exactly what they look for when offering scholarships. No fluff, just the truth from people making the decisions. Second, Athlete CEO. Here we go beyond the field, into habits, training, and mindset that build elite performance and long-term success. You'll hear from strength coaches, nutritionists, sports psychologists, and former athletes who've turned their grind into greatness in business, leadership, and life. Because being an athlete isn't just about playing the game, it's about mastering it and building your legacy beyond it. So whether you're a parent trying to navigate recruiting or an athlete ready to level up, you're in the right place. Welcome to Athlete Country Club, where we turn potential into performance and performance into purpose. What's good, everybody? Welcome to Athlete Country Club. I'm your host, Marcus McMarion. Super excited for today's guest, someone who's near and dear to my heart. I mean, as far as just what he's done and his influence in my life, just being just always pushing the agenda, never settling and never being content. But Robert Golden's journey is one that hits close to home for a lot of athletes listening today. From Fresno to college football to the NFL and ultimately becoming a team captain with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Rob has lived, the full arc. Just a dreamer, grinder, pro, a leader. But what makes his story powerful isn't just where he played, it's who he learned from, who he played beside, and why he feels called to giving back. Big Rob, brother, welcome to Athlete Country Club.
My brother, man, it's always a pleasure connecting, bro, and getting to sharpen iron with you, bro, has always been a blessing, man. So excited to spend some time with you today, man, and hopefully inspire others that may be out there listening.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's kind of the big reason I wanted to bring you on. It's like, you're one of those people that I feel like when you have a conversation with you or just around you and in the environment, it's like, I feel motivated and called like, man, maybe I'm not pushing myself as much as I need to push myself. It's like, and you need people like that.
No doubt.
In your environment. And I think I just read a quote the other day. It was like, your environment will always be stronger than your willpower. It's like when you're around other people that are just pushing you constantly, I think it just kind of gives you that kind of extra motivation and inspiration you need. And I think just in your opinion, like early in an athlete's journey, I think talent matters, but like I was kind of alluding to, environment matters more than talent. Like proximity to people who believe in believe big, work hard, and live with discipline can completely change your trajectory of your life. And like for you, just growing up in Fresno, how important was proximity to other athletes who shared the same aspirations as you?
Man, it was big, dating back from when I was in high school all the way to when I got to the NFL. One of my mantras and slogans is, if they don't motivate or elevate, why associate? So I've always been trying to get around people that either motivate me or elevate me to become better than who I am, better than who I was, just so that I can ultimately reach the destination that I've always been trying to get to. So I've always hung around the people that's been there and done that, whether it was when I was in high school, hanging around guys like Ricky Manning, who was already in the NFL. I was training with him. When I got to college, I was working out with guys like Antoine Cason, who was a first-round Jim Thorpe Award winner. And then when I made it to the NFL, I wasn't hanging around the rookies. I was hanging around guys like Troy Polamalu, Ron Clark, Ike Taylor, your all-pros, your pro bowlers. Just always tried to hang around people, man, that been there and done that to help me get to where I was ultimately trying to be, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, and just that list, I don't want to blow past that list. You're talking about Ike Taylor, Ryan Clark, Troy, like these are like cream of the crop NFL, and you were right there with them as a captain, like respected by your peers. That's not who's Rob? Like these guys respect you and know who you are and respect your craft and your work and what you've done on the field. And just being in that kind of environment, what separated guys who stuck around from the guys who didn't, even if the talent looks similar?
Man, I think it's one of Coach Tomlin's favorite sayings that now became one of my favorite sayings. It's not about what you're capable of doing, it's about what you're willing to do. And when you're around a bunch of guys that's in the NFL, man, a lot of them is capable of being able to go out there and perform and do what they need to do to earn a roster spot. But are they really willing to study that playbook? Are they really willing to be a team player? Are they really willing to run through that brick wall when it's 4th and 1 and we got to come up with a stop, And I think that's what truly separates not only professional athletes, but us everyday human beings, man. A lot of us have the capabilities to be great at what we're doing, but you got to have a willpower to want to do those type of things. And that's just something that I've always tried to hold myself to, is be the guy that's willing to help, to support, to take the trash out, to do whatever needed to be done to make sure that we ultimately reach success. So it's really just about, man, what you're willing to do, not only as a player, but as a person in life, for sure.
Yeah, no, and I feel like I've always kind of lived by and been motivated by just the fact of like, I've always kind of used the analogy of like, hey, if you're the star of your own movie, like if the camera was actually on you and you're watching the movie and there's a plot and there's drama and this and's happening, I've always kind of been like, if the fans were watching the movie and are you actually putting in the work towards your goals? Like, is it like, man, why hasn't this guy broke through? Or is it like, man, this guy's dreaming. Like, there's no way he's going to accomplish what he's accomplished because he's not doing the little things that happen. But I feel like before I became a Division I athlete, I feel like I always tell athletes, and it's something I try to share, is everyone's chasing a scholarship. Not enough people are chasing becoming a Division I athlete. Like, it's like you're trying to get something and obtain something, and you're not working towards actually becoming that person. Like, if you focused more on being a quality Division I athlete, like they would just come and everything would kind of fall into place. And for you, I mean, like, was there a moment early in your career when you realized like, I belong here, but I have to level up fast?
I think when you're trying to make it in the NFL, or when you're trying to accomplish whatever goals it is that you have in life, bro, you got to move in faith. And faith is something that you got to stand on and truly believe that you're going to get the outcomes that you're seeking after. So for me, bro, I've always felt like I deserve to be in the NFL. I should be in this locker room. I should be on this field. I'm capable of being able to do those things. And I've always just tried to go after every goal, every ambition that I've had wholeheartedly, not expecting the worst, but expecting the best. And when you do that, and you go after your goals and you chase them and you are able to obtain them, you don't get an opportunity to see what's on the other side if you didn't go wholeheartedly at it. But at the same time too, when you're chasing goals, or when you're chasing whatever ambitions that you have, if a pivot happens along the way, it's going to work out in your favor and the way that it's supposed to work out. But at the end of the day, man, I've always been a guy that just moved in faith. So yes, I believe that I was going to be in the NFL. I believe that I deserved to be on the field. I believe that I was going to transition well, man, but that's just the level of faith that I have, not only in myself, but in the mighty God that I serve, man. So I've been a big faith guy, bro. I've been the guy that get out the boat and truly believe that everything is going to work out for my good, man, just based on my level of belief. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, and I feel like that takes a certain level of just, I mean, obviously faith and belief in what you believe in, but then maturity in a sense too. It's like you kind of have that whole, I think once you experience the paradigm shift of kind of understanding like life is happening for me and not happening to me, I feel like that kind of, when I heard that for the first time, I feel like it really transitioned the way I was looking at things that were happening in my life. Instead of kind of play the victim in every situation, then I started becoming like, okay, well, how do I play the victor in this situation? Like, what is this trying to teach me? Why is God trying to slow me down? What is he trying to tell me to pause and look and smell the flowers kind of in this situation? And I heard an interesting quote the other day. I was listening to Mike Vrabel was doing an interview, and he was talking about um, in a just a leadership and standpoint in general, and he was saying we can have different personalities, but we can't have different mentalities. And I was like, man, like that's so
Mm,
that hit so home for me because like different you could have a different personality, but we can't have
yeah,
different mentalities. Like those are the people I associate with. Like maybe
yeah,
Rob is really well spoken, and he was probably the guy right away that would fire people up, get people going. But I was more like, hey, I'm gonna pick and choose the time I talk, but when I talk,
yeah,
people listen. To where it's like
yeah,
kind of playing in your own game and understanding. It instantly made me think just about the Steelers culture and the environment you were
yeah,
in. And I mean, just for you guys, I mean, how did Coach Tomlin allow individuality but still
yeah.
enforce like one unified standard?
Man, that's good, man. When you talk about Coach Tomlin, everybody know him as a player's coach. Everybody wants to play for Coach T, man, because he's relatable, he's understandable. He's the guy that's not only your coach, but he's the father figure, and the guy that's really going to be that big brother for you when you need to confine in someone from a men's standpoint. But when you talk about the way that Coach Tomlin was able to operate, man, he had one goal, he had one standard, and that was the standard is the standard. There wasn't a bunch of goals that were laid out inside of our locker room or on our practice facilities. When you walk inside of the office, when you walk out to the football field, the only slogans you will see on the wall is the standard is the standard. And I think that's just something that he's been able to embed in us, because you got guys that come from different religions, different backgrounds, different communities, different upbringings. But to get everybody on one accord, to truly believe that the standard is the standard, that we all come together to host the Lombardi Trophy. That was the ultimate goal, and that's what everybody believed in, and that's what everybody came together to try to, accomplish together. And I think Coach Tomlin was just able to get everybody on one accord, reaching for that one goal to host that Lombardi Trophy. Although we never, was able to reach that goal, one of the things that everybody knows throughout the NFL is that Coach Tomlin is a well-respected coach, and his teams are always going to show up ready to compete and battle. Coach T, man, he definitely instilled a lot in us as players that a lot of us hold near and dear to our heart as men in our everyday lives to this day. So truly thankful for the opportunity to get to play for that organization, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, and it's so interesting. I feel like some of the best coaches I played for, I think similar to Coach Tomlin, and I think I've heard you say it in a recent podcast, is that they teach so much more than just football. And it's like,
Yeah,
man, you try to communicate that to young kids, and sometimes it feels like it goes one year out the under until you've experienced it yourself. You realize like
yeah,
people are like, what made you so successful? And you kind of alluded to it too. It's like, man, I was never had an ego towards stuff. If I was talking to a janitor just randomly, he's cleaning up, like he might drop a life gem on me that might change the rest of my life. Like, I don't know, but it's because I'm open and willing to, I'm learning from different people in different areas. It's not just because Rob Golden played in the NFL and he went to
right.
Arizona and he's made money in the NFL. It's like, no, like who knows, like who's in his circle that you could learn from and really kind of change your
Sure.
trajectory in your life. And I think just while you're kind of playing for Coach Tomlin, I mean, just during that, I mean, like playing under him, what were life lessons that went beyond football that you're taking into your life now as a CEO, as a businessman, as a father, and as a husband?
Yeah. Man, I think with Coach T, man, he's a guy that operates in transparency. He's a guy that says, man, I don't like gray area. I like black and white. And the older I get and the more I, continue to flourish in my businesses and things of that nature, it's something that I try to stand on now is operating in transparency, having no gray area, really being able to articulate exactly what it is that you're looking for. Oftentimes as people, we don't have everything figured out. And sometimes we try to beat around the bush to ultimately get to the question or get to the answer that we're seeking. And for me, bro, it's like, let's get there. We're all adults in the businesses that I operate now. And it's like, man, we need to see outcomes. We need to see things get in motion. And in order for that to truly happen, in order for you to be able to see what it is that you're looking for, man, you have to be a guy that is willing to operate in transparency, and another thing that Coach Tomlin used to always tell us is that, man, he's looking for volunteers, not hostages. And that always just sat near and dear to me, because I'm like, Coach T, what do you mean by that? But we want people around us that want to be around us, or we want people that work in our organizations because they want to work for our organizations. If you feel like, there isn't no chemistry, or if you feel like you don't deserve to be there, or you don't want to be there, the door is always open for you to go and chase your own ambitions or your own aspirations. But wanting volunteers, not hostages, it's another way that I try to operate, not only in my business life, but in my personal life. I want people that want to be around me. I want people that want to work for my organizations. I want people that want to be in those spots. And if you feel like you're forced to be in those positions, then the door is always open, man. So that transparency, that volunteers, not hostages, is something that Coach T taught me that I carry to my life to this day.
Yeah, no, I mean, just it's so important just to be transparent. I think just in that transparency, I think anyone who's really reached an elite level in anything, I mean, business, sports, whatever, they kind of understand that it is process oriented, right? The process is the process. And I've always grown, I've kind of taken time sometimes to kind of evaluate, say, okay, once people have reached a certain stature, like, for example, a little context, I was running the NIL stuff at Fresno State the last 2 years, and there were certain things that there was a process, but I knew there was an outcome that needed to be achieved. And sometimes someone would come up to me and say, maybe we should tell Tedford. And I'm like, Tedford doesn't care. And this doesn't have to do with Tedford. Tedford cares about the outcome. He doesn't need to know A, B, C, D, E, F, G. He just wants to know X, Y, Z, like figure it out and then get him the answer. And it's like, I think there's just a kind of a certain level of respect and demand that you create in an environment like that. Once you've kind of said like, hey, this is what needs to be done. And I think you've experienced, I mean, just the cream of the crop of just some of the guys you were around. I mean, Big Ben was there. I mean, Troy and Ryan Clark. And I mean, you were a team captain with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, that's such a historic, like one of the best just organizations in the NFL to be a part of. And then, I mean, just for you, I mean, like, what does leadership actually look like inside an NFL locker room?
Man, it varies. I think for me, man, I was a young guy that came into the league hungry, being an undrafted free agent that had to prove my love on a daily basis was something that I was willing to roll my sleeves up and do every day. So that in itself, creates some type of energy around other people to say, man, that guy knows how to work and he's a young guy. But I really tried to just display my work ethic more by how I work and less about what I say. One of the things that I tell my teams now that I coach is that it's not about what we say, it's about what we do. So every day when I showed up in that locker room, I was one of the first ones there. I was one of the last ones to leave. I was the guy that was going full speed when it was supposed to be tempo, but I only had one speed, man. And I think a lot of guys gravitated to that just because I was a young guy that was trying to prove myself, but I was also a humble guy that was open and willing to learn from the vets and from the people that then been there and done that, man. But for the first part of my journey, being a 3-time team captain, that first year, I was really just grinding, man, trying to prove my love to keep a spot on the roster. And then from that point on, man, I started working smarter, not harder. And I was able to help a lot of rookies and a lot of younger guys understand what it takes not only to make the team, but how to thrive in that space by taking care of their bodies, taking care of their mental, but also being ready and willing to go out there and execute game plans, man. So for me on a daily basis, bro, my leadership looked a lot on what I was doing and less about what I was saying, for sure.
Yeah, no, and I feel like I'm such a broken record because I try to bring this up just about every NFL guy that I talk with, but I've experienced it and kind of been at the high Division 1 level, and it's like there's so many guys that are talented, but the mental side of it, without a question, in my opinion, is what separates guys, and that's mental from everything. I mean, from football IQ to
Yeah,
we're working out and training like, hey, you're supposed to hit 6 reps, but you're tired on 4. Like, can you get
yeah,
7? Or are you just like,
yeah,
oh, I'm going to stop at 4? So there's
right.
different things like that. And I think a really overlooked perspective that I want you to give some insight to is like when I was with the Raiders with rookie minicamp, and this
Uh-huh.
is a lot of people don't like to talk about it, but it's the truth of the NFL, and you experienced it even as an undrafted guy. I remember being there with John Gruden with the Raiders, and I was there and we'd have some rookie camp invite receiver run a route, mess it up, run the wrong route, and just get absolutely ripped, like chewed
Yeah,
out, right? Like bad.
yeah,
But then they had drafted Hunter Renfro. He goes in and makes the same mistake or makes another
yeah,
mistake, and it's like, oh, it's okay, Hunter. Like, come here, like, let me teach you. But then it kind of makes you introduce you to the business side of the NFL. It's like, well, they
yeah,
invested millions of dollars in this guy. I'm just a dude that's trying to make the team.
yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
talk to that. Like there are certain things like you earn your respect every single day in the NFL.
Yeah, man, absolutely. One of the things that is a kind of an unspoken rule in the NFL is that everybody is treated fairly, but everybody's not treated equally. So everybody will be treated fairly in that locker room, but everybody won't be treated equally. I mean, if you're a guy that has $1 million or millions of dollars, tied up into their contract, man, you're going to get some treatment that the other guys isn't going to get. But at the end of the day, if you're in that NFL locker room, you will be treated fairly, but you just don't get that equal treatment, which is understandable, in a business standpoint or in the business world. If you've been with a company for a number of years and you understand how the operations work and how the operations are ran, you may get a little bit more leniency than, maybe the guy that's fairly coming on new, just because, you've built relationship, you've built camaraderie, not only with the organization, but with the leadership of the organization. And I think that's the same thing, within the NFL, man. If you're a guy with a name, that has a big time contract or some level of respect for what you then already did based on your resume, you're going to get some treatment that may be a little bit better than an undrafted rookie free agent. But one of the things that you can't do as an undrafted rookie free agent is take it personal. You got to go out there, like I mentioned earlier, and prove your love every day. And sometimes you're going to get chewed out. Sometimes you're going to get 1 rep. Sometimes you're not going to get no reps. But with the opportunities that are given to you, you have to take it 120% seriously and, make the most of your opportunity that's presented. So that was just something that I've always tried to do, was take advantage of every single opportunity. And when my name was called upon or when that door opened, I ran through it. I didn't walk through it. And that's what kind of led me to have a 7-year NFL career. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's easy for an athlete that's in high school right now or a parent to hear that and be like, oh, well, that doesn't apply
Yeah.
to us. We're not in the NFL yet. But I think
Yeah.
it's even similar to, I mean, you think back to your Edison high school days. I mean, Edison isn't known to, I mean, athletically, I mean, the kids out of there every year, I mean, they are
Yeah.
producing talent, that's for sure. So I'm
For
not going to
sure.
say that.
For
But as
sure.
far as just from like a socioeconomic rank. It's not known
Yeah.
as like a modern day where it's a private school and parents are
Right.
spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on training. I feel like even for me coming out of Danube, like it's easy to just almost like, oh, poor me, like I don't have the same opportunities or I can't go to camps. And I feel like it's almost like, hey, I've always been told like someone with your been dealt your hand of cards
Yeah.
is winning or has gone even further than you have. So it's like
Yeah.
there's no reason to complain or feel bad for yourself, but it's like, hey, I could almost flip the script on it and say, well, I'm more motivated, I'm more inspired to push
Yeah.
because I don't have XYZ. And I think that's almost a way of just a perspective and everything and just kind of learning from greatness and being around those people. And we live in a time now where it's like, I don't necessarily have to be friends on a text basis with Robert Golden. Maybe I don't know him, but it's like I could follow his Instagram. I could check out what he's doing. I could see what he's preaching. I could go to a speaking engagement that he's doing. So there's different ways to have mentors and to learn from people. And we kind of talked about a little bit off podcast, just like learning from greatness and iron sharpens iron. But like you played with during the same era as like Ryan Clark and Troy Polamalu. I mean, they're two of, the most respected defensive leaders of the generation. And I mean, for you, like, what did you observe from, Ryan Clark that shaped how you approach preparation and accountability?
Man, Ryan Clark was the guy that I looked up to when I first got inside of that locker room. Man, just seeing how he worked, how he went about his daily business, how he communicated on the field. People don't truly understand how much you got to talk and communicate when you're on the football field to make sure that your defense is prepared and everybody is on the same page. So Ryan is now, one of ESPN top, sports analysts, but he didn't just start talking when he got on ESPN, man. Ryan has been talking. And I think Ryan, the way that he's went about his business, kind of helped me to become who I am today. Whether it's, how he took care of his body, how he was dedicated to, proving his love because he was an undrafted free agent every day, where he walked around with the chip on his shoulder. That was just something that I was able to look up to him and kind of try to implement within my game, man. But Ryan was the one that I hung around and followed and try to mimic my game and mimic my studying habits after him. And I think that just goes for any athlete out there, whether you're high school, college, or in the NFL. You want to find somebody that you can look up to, that can mentor you, that could help you become better. And I think when I think back on my rookie year, Ryan Clark was that guy for me. Not only did he help me on the field, but he helped me off the field. I was over his house on Thanksgiving. I was over his house during Christmas. When I first made the team, I was over his house watching college football kickoff later that day, So I remember just how he embraced me, not only as a teammate, but as a human being. And I think for any athlete that is out there, you need to find that big brother or that person that can really help you grow, not only in your profession, but help you grow in whatever you do as a human being as well, too. Ryan being a married man, taking care of his children, the way that he was a father figure and a great husband to his wife, that encouraged me, man, and inspired me to want to live a similar life, man. And I remember when I got married and I started having children, I wanted to make sure that I was there for my wife and there for my kids, the way that I saw Ryan and Troy and some of the other veterans that was in the locker room being there for their spouses and for their children. So those guys inspired me more than just being an athlete. They've inspired me in ways that I don't even think that they understand to this day. But it's those type of guys that you want to surround yourself with on whatever level you are on, to make sure that you're not only becoming a better athlete, but you're becoming a better human being as well, too.
Yeah, no, we talked about earlier, too, about you don't always have to have the same personality, but having the same mentality is something that is a requirement when you're pursuing goals of that nature. And you talked about how fluent, and we kind of joked off camera that you are a very well-spoken defensive back. I'm not stereotyping defensive backs, but they typically they're not quarterbacks in a sense of like, let's communicate. They're in front of the camera all the time. But on the flip side of that, you have Ryan Clark, who's breaking down ESPN, very high football IQ, but then you have Troy Polamalu, who's the same, probably football IQ, intelligence level, probably one of the most instinctive players in the NFL that's ever played, maybe. But he's not necessarily the type to jump in front of a camera and be that ESPN anchor that maybe Ryan Clark is right now. But kind of talk to that. just like Troy Polamalu, he's known as one of the most instinctive players ever. Like, what separated him mentally?
Man, Troy, dude, I'll tell you a funny story before I jump into that. But, when I was in high school, Obviously, Edison, we black and gold, man. So I used to always watch TP, Troy, highlight tapes before I went out on the field just to kind of get me juiced up and ready to go, man. Just seeing how instinctive he was and, some of the things that he used to do as a player, man, it was just out of this world. But then I get to the locker room, and my first day inside of the Pittsburgh Steelers locker room, I lock eyes on Troy Polamalu, man. And I can tell you that was the first time that I've ever been starstruck in my life, seeing Troy Polamalu head and shoulders in the flesh. It was a moment that I'll never forget. But, one of the things that Troy taught me and taught every other safety that came inside of that locker room, because he's a guy that's going to embrace you, that's going to love on you. He don't care if you're a free agent. He don't care if you're the janitor. Man, he's that guy that's going to see how your day is going every day. But one of the things that he said, man, was that you watch film to make plays. You don't watch film just to watch film. So if Troy was watching film and he see that when they come out in I formation, slot receiver motions over, they run and dive right, man, it don't matter if they do something different. If that's the play that he's thinking, man, he can be in cover 2. He's going to go stop that dive right. And one of the things he always used to say was, man, have my back when I make these moves. And a lot of the times, man, Troy was about 90% right when he studied that film and he went to make those plays. But that's something that I try to emulate in my game. That's something that I try to teach my son now, is that, man, we're going to watch this film and we're going to find a play that we see them run consistently. And no matter what defense we're in, we're going to go make that play because we're watching film to make plays. We're not watching film just to know what they're doing. So that's something that I try to teach my players now that I'm coaching, to be instinctive like how Troy was.
Yeah, and I'll tell you from a quarterback perspective, that's the scariest type of player to go up against, because if I'm reading half of the field and I see this, I'm like, oh yeah, the safety's relating to the hash. It looks like cover 2 on this side, and they're doing the same thing. It's probably the other thing on the other side, and he's just being instinctive and making a play. Yeah. And I'm going to where the ball should go in cover 2, and he's making a play on it. And I'm just going to look at the sideline like, bro, like I'm going through my reads, like I'm doing everything right. He's just making a play, so that's tough. I mean, and that's something that's really hard to develop too. I mean, that's just something where I think everything's going to lead through preparation and trust in your abilities. Then you get to the point where it's like, hey, my coach at Oregon State would always say, like, hey, players make plays, players win games. Like, hey, at the end of the day, like, you're on the field to make a play and like make something happen. So, I mean, you've just been around such great players. I mean, we haven't even touched on, the offensive side of the ball. I mean, what were you going against on a weekly basis, day-to-day basis, those guys?
Man, well, shoot, I had the opportunity to go against some legends, man, some greats. I mean, when we talk about my first year there in Pittsburgh, man, the quarterback was Ben Roethlisberger with Antonio Brown, with Mike Wallace, with Emmanuel Sanders, with Heath Miller at tight end, man. Rashad Mendenhall at running back. And then the second year, you got AB in his prime at that time. With another guy like Martavius Bryant, with guys like Juju Smith-Schuster and Le'Veon Bell. I mean, when we were in practice, man, we were going up against all pros every day, all day. And that's just from the skill side of things. I'm not even talking about your all-pro center and Mike Pouncey and your all-pro guard and David DeCastro. But, it was the best against the best literally every day. But when you go up against guys like that in practice, it makes the games that much easier because you're seeing the best. And those were guys that, AB, for example, Antonio Brown, man, he catch a slant and he's taking it 80 yards full speed in practice every single rep, man. So that made the games easier. But not only getting the opportunity to go up against them, but, when I also transitioned to the Kansas City Chiefs, I got an opportunity to go up against, a young Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and some of the other good receivers that they had at that time back in 2018. So my practices, man, were awesome to be able to go up against some legendary Hall of Fame like players. But that's what they always say, practice makes the games, a lot more easier if you really practice how you want to play. And every single day, when you go to practice and you practice how you want to play, when you get in the games, man, it'll make it that much easier if you really put the work in throughout the week, for sure.
Right, yeah. And you kind of bring up the Kansas City Chiefs. I remember me and you having conversations a little bit here and there during that time, and it's like, man, you've been so blessed in the situation that you kind of played into, where I tell people it's a hidden factor that it doesn't make the transition any easier, but myself included, I was able to leave football on my terms. Like, I was ready to step away from football and kind of step into what I was being called to. And I think you had that experience too. It doesn't make the experience any easier. It's still difficult, and it's a very difficult process to do when you do decide. But I think you've definitely, from the outside, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but you definitely have you've made it to almost the pinnacle of sports, and you're up there, and you've definitely left leave the ladder down approach. Like, a lot of people will get to that point and just kind of, hey, I made it, I'm here. You have enough money and things to do with your family to not ever come back and give back. But I mean, your heart for giving back has shown up, I mean, in a real and tangible way. I mean, through Golden Charter Academy, and I mean, a vision that started with you. I mean, Colin, and it's grown to a state-of-the-art facility. Serving the next generation, and it's just become, it's an idea that came to fruition, I mean, through your faith and consistency and labor. I don't want to forget the labor part of it.
Absolutely.
But just kind of take us back to the beginning. I mean, like, how did the vision for Golden Charter Academy first come to you?
Yeah, man, it's funny, man. I was playing in the NFL back in 2014, 2015. And I had a guy by the name of CJ Jones that called me, dude. And he's just like, man, when you're done playing in the NFL, you're going to open up a school. And I'm like, dude, I'm in the prime of my career. I don't even know anything about education. Why would I want to open up a school? But it went in one ear and out the other, bro. And, when I felt like God was calling me to do something different, I stepped away from the NFL, and I got that call again from CJ. He's like, man, it's time for you to start working on your school. And I remember I thought to myself, if I ever was to start a school, it'd have to be completely different than any other school that's out there. So I said I wanted to start a school where kids can know that they can be the difference, and they can be a change maker, not when they get older, but they can be change makers right now. So really was able to start the environmental stewardship school, where kids not only learn about environmental education, but we put them in positions to go out in their communities and make it better right now. And, from one thing grew another. But at the end of the day, my vision was always to offer kids a world-class educational opportunity in a state-of-the-art facility. And, through hard work, through labor, through faith, a lot of those things have been able to come to fruition, man. But, I feel like, me doing this work has been my God's given assignment to make it all happen. And he used me to be the one to bring a lot of this to fruition, bro. But this wasn't something that I did for any type of recognition or publicity, man. This was really just an act of faith. When God gives you a vision, or when he tells you that you should do something, or when you have a desire to go out and accomplish some type of goals, man, if you work at it diligently, and if you truly commit to whatever it is that you're going after, man, you will truly see it come to fruition, man. So I think more than anything, man, me seeing this vision come alive, me seeing the school happen and this facility get built, man, this is just a testament for me, man, that when you have faith, and when you truly believe, and when you truly work towards any goals or any ambitions that you have, you will see the fruits of your labor come to fruition. So I'm more excited about the project than I think any other people are that is seeing it from the outside in, because I truly understand what faith can do. I mean, I understood what faith could do to make it to the NFL, especially as an undrafted free agent, but this is on a whole nother level of faith that is going to really propel me to not only continue to dream big, but is an example for my children to be able to see that daddy dreamed big to do this. So what can I dream big to do? And that's the thing that I'm most excited about, is being able to not only see my children, my biological children dream big, but all of the children that attend Golden Charter Academy, for them to be able to have those same dreams and make their dreams come true as well too.
Yeah, I honestly would argue that one would say it's easier to dream about playing in the NFL than it is to have the faith required to build a state-of-the-art facility that there's no blueprint to that. I mean, you could go find a blueprint-ish to how to get to the NFL. I mean, there's no blueprint for what you just accomplished and what you continue to do through Golden Charter. And I think like building something of that scale, I mean, requires belief before results. I mean, like how has your faith guided you through just the inevitable challenges that I would imagine continue to show up on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, man, I can't sit up here and tell you that I have it all figured out and that it's been all peaches and cream, man. It's been a fight. It's been a journey. It's been sleepless nights. It's been all of that, but when God calls you to do something, man, you got to expect that to come with it. But it's faith, bro. Faith is the assurance of things that are hoped for, without the evidence of things that are seen. So when God told Abraham to leave his country and go to an unfamiliar place that he was going to show him, Abraham didn't know where that was at. He just went. When God called me to start this school, I didn't know the first step of what it was going to take for me to do it, or I didn't know how to go out and, acquire financing to build a school, of the magnitude that we're building. But I just knew he told me to do it, and I had to do the work. I had to find out, who to get in contact with, what documents I needed to have in place. It was a lot of work that needed to be done, but ultimately, through the Spirit, through meditation, through prayer, through believing, you get guided in the direction that you ultimately are trying to get to. But that's life, bro. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be days that are going to be good. There's going to be blessings. There's going to be battles. That's life, no matter what it is that you do. So, for me, man, I'm just thankful that I'm the one that's being used as the vessel so that others can see whatever dreams, whatever ambitions, whatever goals they have. If you work towards them and if you don't let the distractions distract you, ultimately, man, you're going to be standing at the top and you're going to look back and see how far God has brought you on a vision that started in your head and now has manifested to reality, that other people get to see for sure.
Yeah, no, and that's just an awesome testament to, I think, all of us anyone who's a believer or a follower of Christ, at the end of the day, we just want to make it to the end of our life and be able to hear just that, well done, good and faithful servant. It's like at the end of the day, that's kind of the ultimate mission and goal. And Rob, I can't thank you enough, brother. The last question I have for you, and I always like to kind of end this way. If for whatever reason I forgot to hit record and this whole thing is just lost and we didn't have anything, and except for this one final question and answer, if a young athlete or parent's listening and only hears this final answer, what are two things they can start doing today to improve their chances of success on the field, but also off the field?
Man, that's a great question. I think, what you can do on the field is control what you can control. There are some things that can be coached, that could teach you better technique, that could teach you how to be in a better position. But the things that you can control is your effort. If you're not giving 120% effort on every single play, on every single rep, then you're cheating yourself. That's one thing that you can control on the field to be in a better position or to get the opportunities that you're looking for is your effort. And then to position yourself off the field, we always got to understand that football or sports is what we do. It's not who we are. Football and sports is what we do. It's not who we are. So to position yourself to be better off the field, you got to really, truly understand who you truly are. Sports is going to come to an end for all of us. And at the end of the day, when sports has come to an end, who are you, or who do you represent, or what do you stand for, or what problems do you want to solve in this world? That's one of the things that you can never lose sight of whenever you're chasing your athletic goals. But control your effort on the field and know who you are off the field. Those would be the two things that I'll leave for any listeners that's out there. And if they do that, I'm sure they'll live a golden life. That's for sure.
Yeah, amen to that, brother. Yeah, so control the controllables and just make sure you guys are day-to-day basis, just kind of pushing towards that. And Rob, I can't thank you enough, brother. I mean, thank you for sharing, I mean, not just your journey, but I mean, the lessons, the leadership, the responsibility that comes with making it to that level. And not only showing people that you can make it to that level, but also make sure you look back in the rearview mirror every once in a while, kind of know where you came from and having that heart of gold to help people and change the next generation. I think you're leaving a Fresno legacy that's well beyond your football career. That was amazing in itself. So, Rob, I appreciate you, brother. Any last words you want to kind of say?
Man, appreciate the time, bro. Thanks for having me, man. But understand, bro, life is always going to life. And no matter what, just keep going. God will see you through. It'll all work out for your favor. If you get that scholarship, if you don't get that scholarship, if you get that offer, if you don't get that offer, if you make it to the league, if you don't make it to the league, life is going to make sure that you are okay at the end of the day, man. So keep the faith, enjoy the journey of this thing called life, and I'll meet everybody at the top once I get there and once they get there, that's for sure.
No better way to end it. Until next time, this Athlete Country Club. Appreciate you guys. God bless.